So quick, then I'll circle back to what the Board of Commissioners action was last week, and then we'll go from there. And you may have heard this already, but I think it's important to hear it again. So in 2000, Department of Health downgraded 74 acres of shellfish growing area in the Nisqually Reach due to fecal coliform pollution. A shellfish protection district was formed according to state law. And as part of that, a risk-based septic system operation and maintenance program was developed. A portion of the district was designated a marine recovery area, an area of special concern, which is authorized under state and local code to do that, which allows more stringent requirements and corrective measures to protect public health per Article 4, Section 22 of the Sanitary Code. The good news is, it's been in place for 10 years and it has worked. So the downgrade has been corrected. Water quality has improved. 127 acres have been upgraded. And we're talking about upgrade of acres. We're talking about real shellfish growers operating that area that are doing this for a living. So it's important to recognize that commercial shellfish harvest is between, I think, $250 to $300 million of value to the state, every year. So it is a big industry. So the work that the public is doing out there and that Thurston Public Health is doing out there and the growers are doing, it's all synergized, to create this success. In addition to the upgrade of the shellfish acreage, it's an amazing number, but currently we have 90% compliance of the maintenance of those systems out there. That doesn't exist anywhere else. That's extremely high. So for example, right now in unincorporated Thurston County, it's less than 50%. Part of that's due to lack of resources. Okay, so this area created resources for us to be able to do that. So the idea is to continue the program to main success with some tweaks. So some of the lessons learned, and this, I've worked at Kitsap and Jefferson, it's always the same lessons in Puget Sound and septic systems. Septic system owners need reminders to inspect and maintain their septic systems. Owners are willing to learn to inspect their septic systems themselves. I'm amazed, by that, but we have hundreds of people that have gone through our local, programs to train them how to do that. It's important to recognize that new and old systems may fail anywhere at any time. So at any point in Puget Sound, you can say there's 4 or 5% of the systems that are failing. So here in Jefferson County, say we have 60,000. You're talking about thousands of systems that are probably failing right now, either contaminating groundwater or surface water, or surfacing or causing a public health risk. We've also learned that many minor repairs are needed. Minor repairs are great because they're minor and the costs are lower, right? Those include replacing and repairing outlet baffles. So the tanks have baffles to prevent solids from escaping, and sometimes the old tanks, they corroded because of sewer gases and they would just fall apart. And then solids would get into the drain field and fail. So replacing those baffles is critical. Septic tanks develop holes and cracks. Sometimes the construction wasn't good back in the day and they leak and they need to be fixed or replaced. The changes that we're recommending to Article 4 of the Sanitary Code are, I would say, minor in nature, but important in effect. So obviously we want to reenact the Nisqually Reach Watershed Protection Area as a marine recovery area, an area of a special concern. And we're adding a requirement that when a minor repair is done, that a report be submitted that states the nature and cause of the failure, the specific repair or replacement work to be done, and describing how that will actually correct the failure. That's really critical because minor repairs are the best way to prevent complete failure of the system. But the local health jurisdiction needs to have that documentation on file to make sure that it was done according to code, because we also have problems with people that are actually replacing systems on their own or fixing systems on their own without permits, and that's not something that we really want to have happen. The other significant change would be that we're adding code language that requires that septic systems with the operational certificates must be inspected by the certified septic professional at least once within a 9-year period. So if you're a owner of your on-site sewage system and you've been trained to inspect it yourself, the idea is for accountability purposes to have an outside party, third-party certified person come in and just make sure that you're doing a good job. And we did that in Jefferson County. It works, just fine. No one really complains. And here it's only about every 9 years. So I think that's completely reasonable to put that in there. Because we do have concerns, at times because, people might at the time of their training be able to inspect their system, but then things happen and maybe they can't do it and maybe they're sick. During COVID, were they doing that? Maybe not, so it's important to have that kind of check. We're also made some minor changes to references to other codes, for example, the critical area ordinance, code number, etc. So kind of in summary, I have been doing, water quality restoration work for almost 30 years. And in Kitsap and Jefferson, there's been major accomplishments in restoring shellfish beds and stuff. But this is a model program, for the states and perhaps even the country in terms of how it actually has worked. And it's worked because, people have accepted it. And the money that this generates on an annual basis, I think the past 2 years was like $300,000. That pays for the staff to monitor, to help, to create the operational certificates, to monitor the systems. And then every 9 years, the system currently gets a dye trace to make sure that it's working. A dye trace is a very expensive, complicated process that basically performance tests the system to make sure that it's working. So kind of in summary, we're asking for your support in the updates to this Article 4 of the Sanitary Code. The Board of Commissioners last week approved the ordinance that basically extends the Shellfish Protection District for Nisqually and Henderson and the work plan associated with that, which includes a lot of things. And maybe you guys have read this. But the program includes a lot of things to include planning, coordination, and reporting. Some of these things, most of the things are paid for with other funds like fees or like foundational public health, but some are paid by the program itself. So planning, coordination, reporting. We have a advisory committee and Tris has served on that and that kind of pays for that. And water quality monitoring. So we have a countywide ambient monitoring program for streams and lakes, and so they pay, and so that's part of this process. Pollution source control, which is what we call PIC, so pollution identification and correction, which is something that has been going gangbusters in Puget Sound really since the mid-1990s to restore shellfish beds that had deteriorated so badly that there was thousands of acres that had been downgraded and weren't able to harvest. And also, so I guess that's pretty much it on that. Oh, and also education and outreach, which is also important. So we'd ask for your support in amending Article 4 of our sanitary code with these changes. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions from board members for Stuart? Yes, board member.
I have a septic tank 101 or maybe 99 question. The owners who choose to do their own inspections, is that self-reported then?
Yes.
So it's an honor system kind of thing?
Yes.
So in the counties where, you mentioned at least a couple of counties where they have that 9-year requirement for a professional certification, what's the percentage of those coming back faulty?
I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I think at this point, given that we just went through a pandemic, our main concern is that, during the pandemic, that
Sure.
a lot of things subsided during the pandemic. And so now we have a ability, to catch up. But we do know, obviously there's always bad actors. There always is some, and maybe they got certified, but they never actually did the inspection, or they just never actually reported it to us, or et cetera. And then some people, they got certified, but then maybe for physical reasons or other challenges, they haven't been able to do it. So the idea is to create a situation where we have a way to bring them back in the fold if things haven't gone right. So if somebody has to get an outside person coming in, they come in and determine that, well, the tank is, full and it should have been pumped, 2 or 3 years ago, then we know that they probably were not, measuring it. So it's just meant for accountability purposes.
Okay.
But over time, following up on that question, you would be able to show, perfect world, the problems would be just as, at the same rate as folks doing the self-inspection. And if you see a disparity in that data over time.
Well, right, because we have concern about certified people too, because certified people make mistake on a daily basis.
Okay.
And so part of our O&M team is to monitor that and make sure that we identify those issues and, get them corrected, because we do have issues with that as well. It's not just the public doing their own inspections, it's also the certified individuals who are, sometimes running into issues as well. And so we are responsible for quality control of the overall operation.
Board Member Edwards.
I guess, but the real barometer is that water quality is continuing to get better.
That is correct. So the Department of Health samples the salt water out in basically all of Puget Sound and also in the Straits of Juan de Fuca 6 times per year. It's quite an operation they have going on. And so all of the stations in the Nisqually Reach where people can actually, commercially meet standard, which is, that's amazing, to say that it meets standard. And especially since fecal coliform bacteria itself is non-point driven, obviously, and to have levels of fecal coliform that low is extraordinary. And it means that the things that this community has been doing are off the charts and need to continue. And obviously, going forwards, it's plan, do, check, act. So we have some ideas about maybe coming back later to you guys with some refinements or improvements that we could suggest to you that you may want to choose to do.
Okay, with that, we will go to public comment. No one has signed up on the sheet. Tris, come on up.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Tris Carlson. I live at 6936 Puget Beach Road Northeast on the Nisqually Reach. In 2001, I joined the Nisqually Shellfish Protection District Stakeholders Group and eventually became chair of that group. I bowed out a couple years ago, but I still keep on top of it and attend their meetings. And I'm here as a citizen and as an interested party. And for the sake of everyone else, I am involved in the shellfish business, in the commercial shellfish business. But one of the things I wanted to say about this is I hope you all go ahead and accept this program because I think it's well done. There's a couple things that have been brought up about 9-year professional inspections that I agree with, but I wish we didn't have to do that, but I can agree with that. Some of the things like rates, that the rates are, if you're not familiar with it, there's a high risk and low risk septic system group that they look at for self-inspection. And the ones that require dye tests are the high group, or the high risk groups. And they have $174 proposed cost versus a much lower cost for low risk. So those costs over time do add up. And when I look at a 9-year program for on top of the professional inspection on a 9-year program, and you add up all those dollars, you start seeing people are going to start, I think, becoming a little uncomfortable with paying a professional to do something that may have been certified to do. But on the other hand, I agree with Stuart. There's a lot of people that kind of fall off the wagon or don't kind of watch what they're doing. And I think 9 years for a septic pump out is probably pretty routine. And what I found, in fact, I just had my system pumped here just this recently. And they actually did the inspection as part of the pumping process. And I have a fairly involved system too. And so, but they were happy to do it and they filed the report for me. So hopefully it isn't something that pops up in the future and people say, hey, I can make $500 on that. And, you know, they just because it's required. But all in all, I hope you accept this change in the ordinance because I think that it's a great program. I started in 2001. It took us, 11 years, 12 years to get it to the forefront and get it, actually get it ordinance passed. Spent a lot of time, 11 people on a group, lots of meetings, environmental health. I mean, it's amazing what I saw as a citizen, the departments in the state, local levels coming together and actually working together to come up with a plan and working with the Department of Health, working with Department of Ecology, working with environmental health, working with public works, working with all the different, stormwater. I was also the chair of the Stormwater Advisory Board I was on that for 9 years too. So I've seen all this. So I'd just like to reiterate what Stuart said, that this is an exemplary program that needs to be continued and improved, hopefully with adaptive management. And thanks so much for your time.
No one else in the boardroom? We've got a few names up there on Zoom. Anyone who's on Zoom here to give public comment on this public hearing? Ms. Page? Mr. Chernoff? Nope, thumbs up. Thumbs up that you want to give comment, or thumbs up to the?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Okay, great, you're up.
All right, thank you. I'm Scott Chernoff with the Washington State Department of Health Shellfish Programs, who we are headquartered in Tumwater. And although our shellfish programs deal with all of Puget Sound, the coast, and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. And I'm here to say that the Washington State Department of Health Shellfish Programs, as well as the Washington State Department of Health Wastewater Program, support the renewal of the Nisqually Reach Shellfish Protection District. Currently, there are 3,628 acres classified for commercial shellfish harvesting in Nisqually Reach Shellfish Growing Area. 1,929 acres are classified as approved, while the remaining 1,700 acres are classified as prohibited. Most of the prohibited areas are precautionary closures around marinas and major river discharges within a wildlife refuge and are due to potential public health impacts despite water quality in these areas often meeting stringent water quality standards. There are only 46 acres remaining classified as prohibited due to non-point pollution sources. This is a testament to the effectiveness of the Nisqually Reach Shellfish Protection District's hard work in the area. There is a great effort to recover these remaining acres and remove these harvest restrictions, and this will only happen if the Shellfish Protection District can continue the great work they are doing with pollution identification and correction work and enhanced on-site septic system operation and maintenance programs. Beyond the ongoing work to upgrade portions of Nisqually Reach, an important part of marine water quality restoration is maintaining existing approved acreage, including the recreational harvest beach at Ptolemy State Park. If on-site septic system and pollution identification and correction work programs were to cease, we could potentially see a degradation of marine water quality and safe shellfish harvest. Thurston County's Nisqually Reach Shellfish Protection District is an excellent model for improving marine water quality, and we at the Washington State Department of Health Shellfish Programs and Department of Health Wastewater Programs support and encourage its renewal. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay, it looks like we've completed public comment. Discussion from the board. Board Member Edwards.
I'd just point out maybe to the other Board of Health members that are not commissioners, that we voted on this, I think, a week or two ago, and it was unanimous vote. So just point that out. Sometimes we don't always vote unanimously.
Like today. Okay, very good. Well then, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I would move to close this public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, okay. Public hearing is closed. And now we have the opportunity to approve the proposed ordinance. Is there a motion to take that
I
action?
think Robin's looking at something here.
Do we have a number for the ordinance or a title?
It could be at the back of your agenda, or
All right, well, I would make a motion to approve the ordinance amending Article 4 of the Sanitary Code, renewing the designation of the Nisqually Watershed Protection Area, adding a requirement to report minor on-site sewage system repairs in marine recovery areas of special concern, and other technical corrections.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to approve the ordinance amending Article 4 of the Sanitary Code. Discussion. Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Unanimous. Thank you. Sir? Okay, well, that wraps up our public hearing. Let's go back and call the Board of Health back to order. We were in the middle of 5A, discussing some process issues for our 2024 expansion. And I see Board Member Mejia has her hand up.
I would like to make a motion, Chair.
Okay.
I would move to, for the Board of Health to authorize the recruitment process for 3 new Board of Health community members.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to make sure I got the wording right. Open the recruitment process for 3 new Board of Health members. Any discussion on the motion? Nope? Yes, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification, maybe for Jane. Oop. It's that time.
Wait for it.
And that would be especially for Board Member Williams. I think that the position, that person who would take that position would be filling out the unexpired portion of that term.
Meant to ask that, yeah, and I got sidetracked. So what is Vice Chair Williams' term?
I don't have that.
I'll look at the clerk for the.
Have to take a peek at the minutes.
October 2025, I think.
Okay. Well, that's good. That gives us time.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, it gives time for the new person to serve.
Closely 2 years.
Yeah, so I mean, a reasonable amount of time and, okay, so did I call for a vote? No, we're still discussing. Okay, any other discussion, points of discussion on motion? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, so we're gonna be opening that recruitment. What else do we need to cover? I'm gonna look at Director Bain. Do you think there's any other decisions, discussion, or actions by the board to get this process moving forward?
I don't think you need anything of, I think you've, sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
No, go.
Oh, related to the specific topic, no, I think the ball can get rolling on this point.
Board Member Mejia.
Would you need, I know Jane's gonna be looking into the second part of the question, which was, can we designate to a committee if possible? Would you like people to like send you an email saying like, I'm interested? Should we do a motion now to delegate to a potential subcommittee? Like, do we need to do that action now?
You could make a motion that if permitted by law, as interpreted by our prosecuting attorney, we appoint a subcommittee to begin the process of
Screening and-
scheduling the interviews for the recruitment of the new members. Jane, is that a reasonable motion if it were made?
Yes, I guess I'd say as a board, you also need to make determination about how will you use that? Because ultimately, it's up to the full Board of Health to select the new member and then forward that on to the Board of County Commissioners for appointment. And so I guess I'm thinking you may need some discussion of how is that committee how's that committee going to function in terms of providing the information back to the full board? I guess I'm thinking one potential could be that the interviews are conducted and recorded so the rest of the board can listen to them, but I'm not sure how that report back goes. So the full board can make the determination on which member to appoint.
Board Member Vasquez?
If it's permissible to identify a subcommittee to do the interviews, the subcommittee can also make a recommendation to the Board of Health and perhaps list the reasons why the folks that are recommended rose to the top of the candidate pool. And that doesn't mean the board couldn't select somebody else, but there'd be a short list from the folks that did the reviews.
Just so, I'll volunteer for the subcommittee, just so you have that. Commissioner Mejia,
I would
volunteer.
I
Board
tell you
Member
what,
Edwards.
I know, I just have a comment.
Yep.
Could we maybe have that, rather than scheduling, have that subcommittee schedule, maybe conduct the interviews?
Yeah, that's what I think that was, I understood Board Member Vasquez's proposal, which I agree with. frankly.
Okay, well, there was just
We're on
terminology
the same
difference
page,
there.
let's get it done. Yeah.
Okay.
Any input or comments? Okay with that? Okay.
If permitted by law.
Do you think the whole board should look at all the applicants, just so when we come to the meeting, we've reviewed them all? Even though we may not all interview them?
Yeah, I think that can be,
Paper packet, there's no
Yeah.
reason you
Okay.
can't have
Yeah,
that.
we could certainly get that out to everyone.
so your recommended motion is, if permitted by law, we appoint a subcommittee to schedule the interviews or to
Conduct the interviews.
conduct the interviews.
That was what my word.
And make a recommendation back to the Board of Health was what I heard Member Vasquez say.
And just to flesh out this skeletal motion, we have 7 members, so a subcommittee needs to be 3 or not more than 3, because otherwise it's a quorum, 4 is a quorum.
If it's the two of you, you have a quorum of the Board of
Is
Commissioners.
that true though with the tribal seat? Is it 5 our quorum, or Jane, is 5 our quorum because we technically have 8 seats, or is it 4 because we only have 7 seated members?
Let me just make sure I'm on. The quorum, I am just double checking, but I believe, yes, we put in, a quorum is the majority of the members holding positions on the Board of Health, not including the vacancies. So you determine the quorum based on the currently filled positions.
Okay, so it can't be more than 3, and we've got Commissioner Mejia and myself, potentially.
Which is a quorum of the Board of County Commissioners.
Doesn't matter though, we're
No,
allowed
what
to
their
discuss
function
Board of
is, the
Health.
Board
We're
of
actually
Health.
able to talk.
We were cleared on that one.
Just
Yeah.
double checking.
So,
I think Robin's got her hand up.
yeah. Okay, Board Member Vasquez, is that okay? Anybody else?
Yep.
Is everybody good with those 3?
If any of you two would like to do it instead, I'm happy to step back.
Okay, they got fiscal responsibilities, so that's good.
Logistically,
Uh-huh.
we're over here thinking of timing of things. If everybody's gonna review the applicant and not just the subcommittee, there's no way that we're gonna have the roster of applicants by the October meeting. There's not going to be a November meeting. So is the subcommittee going to select the people to interview?
Yes, and I think what everyone's requesting is just a copy of like who applied, right? Just
Okay.
for them to have that.
And we can move this along.
And then, so once we're having, I think, conversations of our recommendations, they can be like, well, I was interested in this person, kind of like what happened, and we can engage in those conversations as a full Board of Health. And subcommittee can report back on kind of why we recommended who we recommended.
Right. So
Is that-
that will be
December?
December.
Or a special meeting,
Or a special meeting.
only because then there'll have to be the subsequent action by the Board of County Commissioners.
I'm okay with December. I mean, my goal is to have the members seated before the new commissioners in January. I think we've done as much as we can do if we can get
We're
this
way
all
ahead of other
accomplished
So
in
your
December.
last meeting in December of the Board of County Commissioners
December 12th.
will, if we go with the traditional last 2 weeks hiatus, will be December 12th, which is the same day as the Board of Health meeting. So perhaps the county commissioners could take action later in the week on the same day that we do the budget.
That's kind of what, we
Yeah.
have budget adoption on the
Yeah.
15th. Could we also add
We
something?
could add a meeting specifically about appointment of Board of Health members.
Rebel, is that week again? Sorry, what was the date? for
That would be December 15th.
Which is a Friday.
Got it.
Yep.
Good luck, folks.
Yep.
All right,
Just
well,
working out the thinking of the calendar.
I don't know that we need a motion on this. We have direction, consent, unanimous, I think consensus of the board on a process, and we've given direction to the director.
So we don't need to delegate that authority? I thought we did.
Do you want a formal
No, I
motion?
don't
Yeah,
know.
you
like-
still need, I think you still would want to
Okay, go
do
ahead,
that.
board member.
To do,
To do the formal motion to
oh,
delegate.
yes.
Yeah, you still
yes.
want to create the subcommittee.
Okay. So let me just, before I actually move it, I just want to, if permitted by law, the Board of Health appoints a subcommittee to conduct the interviews and make a recommendation back to the Board of Health.
You could say a subcommittee consisting of Mejia, Vasquez, and Menser. Throw that in there. Then you've got the,
Okay. Any other edits before I? Okay.
Just a question of process. So if we see the applicants and we have input for the subcommittee, would you like us to just like email that or?
yeah, give us a
Okay.
call or email us,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, like,
Please send the email to the Director of Health, not to the entire board, so that we can
Because then
avoid
it's an
a,
open
serial
meeting.
yeah, serial meeting.
So,
Second.
gotcha.
I want to make sure we get this seconded.
Okay, so. Okay, so.
You hungry?
Ready
Just
for
saying.
a motion? Okay, so I would move, if permitted by law, I would make a motion that if permitted by law, we appoint a subcommittee consisting of Board Member Mejia, Board Member Vasquez, and Board Member Menser to conduct the interviews and make a recommendation back to the Board of Health.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded for a subcommittee regarding interviews. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. And to just finish this agenda item regarding meeting time. Board Member Vasquez, you would propose 3:30. I mean, that's gonna kind of bump into Board of County Commissioners. 3:45 or 4
Could we
might
send it?
work. If we don't do public hearings on Board of County Commissioners days, I'm kind of nervous about trying to find a different day. So maybe if we did, if you had a half an hour, but to get from here to Lacey Council. So maybe we do maybe we shoot for a 3:45. And I'm just thinking out loud we don't have to make this decision right now, but if people could maybe chew on 3:45 and then we try to finish. If it has to be, if the Board of County Commissioners pushes that back 15 or 20 minutes on a given Tuesday, that might happen. All right, well, let's think about that as a potential solution. You'll let us know when Lacey makes a decision.
Yeah, I should know either by the 20th of September or the 12th of October.
Okay.
The decision needs to happen at one of our council meetings or a work session.
And if there's one meeting, I know Councilmember Cox, with respect to law, she's got to zoom in to one meeting because she's got them back to back. And if you have to do that once, that's fine, just while we figure it out. Okay. Anything else on topic 5A?
I don't know if this is on topic or not, but I objected a couple years ago to alleviating the clerk's position for the Board of Health as we were moving forward, because I thought we would develop into some complications. And I just wonder if we're not almost to that point of complications now. So I'm not recommending doing anything. I'm just gonna ask the board to think about what we might do, because it would come back to the Board of County Commissioners to deal with this at some point. But I can see a lot of complications coming. Maybe we'll get them all ironed out smoothly, but I think Jamie might need some help. She's not complaining, don't get me wrong, but I've been working on this for a couple of years now, so.
So
Something
you
to
will
think about.
see a proposal in your upcoming budget regarding that topic.
Oh, we've already
It's in,
got that
it's,
in there?
it's in the public health budget.
Part of the public health budget
Oh,
request,
okay,
so
well, geez, I
see
did,
it
I
in
thought my
October.
idea had died,
City
so.
manager was on top of it.
all you have to do
Okay.
is ask.
Okay. Okay. good enough.
Okay, let's go to, let's go to Health Officer's Report, Dr. Alderman.
Good evening, Board of Health. We're already running late, so I will be brief. We are seeing a bit of an uptick in COVID-19 positive hospitalizations in Thurston County. So looking at the CDC data week on week, so for the week ending August 26th, we were at 3.5 hospitalizations per 100,000 over the preceding 7 days of population. And for the most recent week for which there's data available, which is the week ending September 2nd, we're at 4.1 hospitalizations per 100,000 over the preceding 7 days. So just keep in mind that the CDC, when the CDC is looking at this hospitalization data, which is currently one of the ways that folks are tracking community transmission, healthcare impact of COVID-19, and things of that nature. We're still in the low category, which is from 0 hospitalizations to just under 10. Medium is from 10 hospitalizations per 100,000 over 7 days to 19.9. And then high is 20 and over. So we're seeing an uptick. We're hearing about it from our friends and family. We're still in that low region per CDC per the CDC definitions. But this is just one of those times where we start thinking about viral respiratory season. So ACIP today recommended the COVID-19 vaccine, the updated COVID-19 vaccine for folks 6 months and older. The guidance gets a little complicated for the under 5s about how many doses. So, folks should really, reach out to your healthcare provider if you have questions. And we're expecting that those will become available in the coming days to weeks. This is the commercial. So this is the first time that the COVID-19 vaccine has been commercialized, meaning that it's available through everyone's standard vaccine process as opposed to a special, completely publicly funded process. So that means that, the COVID-19 vaccine for children will be available through the childhood vaccine program, as all childhood vaccines are. The adult vaccine program is part of the bridge that's kind of helping support folks as we move from publicly funded vaccine for COVID to, through this initial commercialization process. And that really supports folks who are uninsured and underinsured, so folks that have a copay for vaccine or have to pay for it in some way. Yeah, I'm seeing questions.
I know we just got some funding from the state in relation to the administration of COVID vaccines, and I'm wondering how that new information, right? How that's going to counteract with that new funding that we got.
So I'm going to defer
Still,
that question.
still TBD. We're trying to figure out what DOH will allow us to use. Does that make sense? We're trying to see if we could use that funding towards this new thing. So more to come.
You know, will Medicaid cover it for adults?
I believe Medicaid should, but I can definitely confirm that. So that is that. So we're looking ahead to respiratory season. We've got a number of tools that we have available to us to stay safe. We are so tests, COVID-19 tests continue to be available at our libraries that our team has been providing in addition to stores, healthcare providers' offices, pharmacies, and where folks usually get their tests.
And schools.
In schools. Awesome. So we do continue to do that. DOH is updating their guidance around expired tests. I know we talked about this last time, and it's coming piece by piece. So it's been updated. So the guidance around expired tests has been updated for schools, and we're still getting clarification as all of the guidance is getting updated for across sectors. So I did want to also share that there is federally funded testing for people who are symptomatic or exposed to COVID-19 through the ICAP program. So that's through CDC. And that can be found through the ICAT testing locator online. So far, when we looked, there were several Walgreens in Thurston County that were a part of this program. I also wanted to share that, as we start to see an uptick in COVID-19, there are folks who are at higher risk of severe disease. And the Washington State Department of Health does have free telehealth appointments where they screen folks for COVID-19 treatment, and will and if folks meet criteria for Paxlovid, they will call that prescription into a pharmacy. So that's just wanting to share, for folks that may not have other options or face difficulty, that remains available. So as we move into viral respiratory season, I continue to recommend that individuals assess their own individual risk of COVID-19, of RSV, of influenza, and making the decision to mask. We're still, our hospitalizations are still in the low category, but this is our first time. And as we move forward, we're looking to see how these hospitalization metrics relate to what we see in our community. So we'll be looking at both tests that are reported, outbreaks that are reported, community transmission, in addition to hospitalization, as we move forward in terms of making recommendations. On the plus side, influenza transmission so far is minimal in Washington State. So, and it's largely type A, and there is influenza vaccine available. And from the data from the Southern Hemisphere, it looks like it's a pretty good match. It significantly reduced the risk of hospitalization in folks who were infected. So I wanted to move to one more item before we adjourn, and that is the listeria outbreak that we talked about last meeting. The listeria outbreak was traced to milkshakes sold at the Frugal's restaurant at 10727 Pacific Avenue and Pacific Avenue South in Tacoma. And it had been linked to 6 hospitalizations and 3 deaths. And it was linked specifically to the ice cream maker, so it affected all flavors. The last day that ice cream maker was used was August 8th. But listeria can cause illness up to 70 days later. So most people who eat food contaminated with listeria do not have significant symptoms from it. But folks who are pregnant, people who are 65 years and older, people with weakened immune systems, if you know, if they had a milkshake during between May 29th and August 7th and have have significant symptoms, so muscle aches, fever, tiredness, for pregnant, for folks who aren't pregnant, they can also get like headaches, neck stiffness, confusion, change in balance, or seizures. So folks that have those symptoms should reach out to their healthcare providers um, if if they had a milkshake from that location. At this point, there haven't been any linkages to other locations, and there haven't been any linkages to other products at this point in time. And with that, thank you so much. Are there any additional questions?
Just a quick one. RSV vaccines for older adults, are they available yet?
They are, and it's through the normal commercial pathways. The long-acting monoclonal antibody therapy for children, that's still in the works with the childhood vaccine program. There's some work being done there.
And on all the committees, there's lots of work going on. It will work out, I'm sure. So.
Okay, thank you, Dr. A.
Thank you.
Before we conclude, Director Bain, anything you wanted to report before we close today?
No, just really appreciated the good discussion about board expansion. I think that our timing is nice so that we're not scrambling come January. We're gonna continue to work with the American Indian Health Commission to keep pushing on that front. I wanna just give a shout out to Rob for helping with that process too. Again, a shout out to the fiscal subcommittee members. Thank you for your time and your patience. You know, this subcommittee, of course, never existed. We never done this before, so we're working out the kinks as we go along, and it's been a good process for me to go through, and understanding my own budget too, frankly. And I'm looking forward to October, hopefully some good conversations around the budget, and just sort of maybe the future of kind of public health generally for the department. So that's it. Thank you.
Not in regards to Director Bain's report, but is this Maria's last meeting or is it October?
It's a good question.
Maria, what is your plan about, when will you no longer be a resident of Thurston County?
No pressure.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, who said yesterday? So this could be my last meeting.
Okay. Just, the clerk of the board will reach out to you and maybe just shoot her an email saying that, you know, based on your change of residence, you're resigning from the slot, and then we'll have that for our file. We really appreciate your being willing to serve.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much, Maria, for stepping up, and you know, I've enjoyed working with you these last couple of months. So just thank you for your input, and to the Board of Health, thank you for stepping up as the vice chair, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
I miss you.
I saw your, what's that? Oh, you'll reach out with her. I guess there's a phone we have to coordinate with you, but Jamie will talk to you about that. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? 6:25, we are adjourned. Thank you.